What's going on, family? Welcome back to Israel's Movie Reviews. And today we're going to be discussing none other than the one that started it all. We're going to be talking about 2008's Iron Man. And man, according to the official Marvel timeline, Iron Man takes place in 2010. And it's all about the genius, inventor, philanthropist, playboy, Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr., who was a perfect cast in this film. Jon Favreau, they actually gave him the reins not only to lead this film, but basically to start not only a franchise as well, but to start a studio. Marvel Studios was just starting out at this time, and believe it or not, this movie was either going to make it or break it. And boy, was this film not only a success in the movie theater, but it cemented Robert Downey Jr.'s legacy. We actually don't see anybody else in this role but him. He was phenomenal. And he's captured by a terrorist organization in this, and the leader wants his latest weapons designed by none other than Tony Stark. And he designed something even more powerful to help him escape, which is the first Iron Man suit that we actually get to see on screen for the first time. And boy, Robert Downey Jr. hit this out the park, man. This movie is all RDJ. He and he alone makes Iron Man, both in the suit and out the suit. This is basically MCU's version of kind of Batman in a way. Although Moon Knight is coming, but to me, he plays that dual role so exciting. It's doubtful anybody could have done it better, honestly. It's certain that he's made it nearly impossible to replace him in the future. You know, when you think of Iron Man, you think of Robert Downey Jr. Director Jon Favreau built it around him with a dazzling array of tech, fun. Gwyneth Paltrow as his girl in the movie was very, very exceptional. But it's Robert Downey Jr.'s fast-talking, quick-wit, personal history that makes him perfect for this character, which is a great character, which makes a fun movie. And me, I got not only a kick out of this film, but this film had me smiling from cheek to cheek, man. You know, and we're gonna give you the summary, basically. You know, he's forced to build an armor suit in order to escape from a group of terrorists. And even though he decides to use this technology prior to help people, he doesn't realize that it's being sold in territories outside of the U.S. Under his knowledge. And the funny thing is, I was never a comic book guy when it comes to this character. You know, I've seen cartoons with Iron Man, and it was cool. It was cool, but it didn't excite me like Batman did, like Spider-Man did. But in my opinion, this movie, I think, changed the game for all superhero movies, and in different ways. Here's another fine example of a film that has something to say, and it doesn't just resort to nonstop action. It doesn't just resort to slapstick violence. No, the movie is extremely well made. It's wonderfully acted, and it contains some great special effects, obviously, right? You have Iron Man, a man in a metal suit who can shoot missiles out his arms, laser beams, who can fly, and that makes it one of the better films of this type. Especially in this genre. I think the key to this film is working with the performance of Robert Downey Jr., who makes you feel as if everything you're watching could actually exist, can really happen. I think a lot of the times you really have to suspend your disbelief when watching a superhero film, obviously, right? Because in real life, we don't see this. In real life, our heroes are cops, firefighters, lawyers, teachers. But things like this we do not see. But that's not the case here, because I feel RDJ is so great that you feel he really knows how to create this suit, how to make it work, how to make it seem seamless. I love the early scenes before the terrorist attack, when Downey uses his comic skills to show what a changed man he is after he's able to actually escape. The supporting cast is also very good. It's well written. You have supporting actors like Terrence Howard and Jeff Bridges who do fine work, although I feel like both characters could have been written better in this film. They could have been given more to do. Although Terrence Howard was actually replaced in the next film by Don Cheadle, of reports that, he wanted to get paid, but there was no money in the budget. And what's funny is that Robert Downey Jr. accepted this role in the midst of his personal crisis around this time. He was fighting drug addiction, alcoholism, and was only paid $500,000 for this film, and ultimately ended up the highest paid MCU actor of all time. So that's a great story in its own. And Gwyneth Paltrow is actually one that really shocked me in this film, because I've seen many of her films, and she does fine work. But I was shocked at how well she could handle this kind of material, and the chemistry between her and Robert Downey Jr. was phenomenal. The chemistry between her and Downey added a lot of suspense, especially towards the ending of the film, the final minutes, which were necessary. Jon Favreau, as the director, did a phenomenal job. He does a wonderful job with directing duties and manages to keep the story moving and keep the viewer entertained throughout the runtime. Iron Man doesn't show up until an hour into the film as Iron Man, but it doesn't keep you disappointed. It was like, okay, it was worth the wait. I feel like you established a lot of character development before you actually get to see Iron Man, which I was a big fan of. I'm not a fan of CGI in a lot of different ways, because I feel like most directors don't know how to use it, but that's not the case here, because the effects fit in well with the story. They never try to be the main focus of the film. And they don't take away from the story. You have Robert Downey Jr.'s character, who is the centerpiece, who's the center of the story. And there's nobody that's ever going to do it better, who's going to play a billionaire, hard-playing billionaire with such arrogance to him, but him. The experience that he goes through in the movie, definitely you see him maneuver, and it changes his whole perspective. And eventually, over the years, going back and looking at the films now, I've actually heard of many superheroes. You have Superman, Spider-Man, the Hulk, you have the X-Men, and when this came to theaters, obviously we never heard of Iron Man in that way. And for the MCU to make Iron Man an A-list superhero, to me, that was amazing. And let's not forget that Stan Lee also makes a brief appearance, as he always does in his films. And man, this was a solid film. Solid film, action-packed. It's just not enough to say about this film, honestly. I give this movie a 9 out of 10, easily. One of my favorite MCU films. And this is third in the actual chronological order. So go ahead and check it out and let me know what you thought. If you want more content from me, all you gotta do is subscribe. If you liked this video, hit that like button. Hit that notification bell. And share this video with those that you care about, with those you love, especially MCU fans, because we're all over the world. Somebody has to see this. Till the next time. Peace.